Before I should start, I should probably put down this water. Mom would have loved that Khuli Roberts water there. Yeah, okay. My mother, Khuli Roberts. Over the past few days, I've struggled to collect my thoughts and process the tragedy that has occurred in our family. My mother, Khuli Roberts, has passed away at the young age of 49. My mother was the woman that shaped my sister and I into the adults that we are today, and she was the most important person in the world to us. My mother was never just an actress or a presenter. My mother was never just a columnist. My mother was never just an editor. After my mother's memorial yesterday, I couldn't help but just be filled to the brim with joy. Hearing everyone saying such beautiful things about her while discussing their relationships and experiences with my mom, it just felt like a key being turned inside of me, allowing me to, 1, accept the tragedy that has occurred, 2, celebrate her life and the time we were able to spend with her, and 3, I was able to understand that many, many other stories exist that more or less revolve around my mom and her Spider-Man suit. I think there was one time when I would have been in high school, probably about the age of 16, and my mom was coming to pick me up. So it would have been about maybe 2 minutes after the bell had rang. Everyone was about to leave. Everyone was out and about. And my mom just comes walking in that Spider-Man suit of hers. So, there's a lot of stories like that. My mother was a supportive, charismatic, vulnerable, courageous black woman who fully provided for her 2 children. My mother was so supportive of everything we did. She always wanted us to decide for ourselves what we wanted to do and what kind of people we wanted to be. But at the same time, she would move the stars and the moon if she thought it would help us succeed. One time, I was playing rugby in my high school, and it was a pretty close game. As we were progressing with the match, the crowd was about as vocal, loud, and noisy as this garden is right now. And then suddenly, I just heard people chanting my name. Now, you see, I wasn't that good of a rugby player. So I turned to the group of people shouting, and I mean, you can guess who was in the middle of the group, coordinating and convincing people to go and cheer for her baby. She was so supportive, and she was our #1 fan. My mother was never just a presenter, columnist, or editor. To me, she was a mother who had 2 kids that thought the world of her. I'm thankful that before her passing, she knew that her son had graduated his master's degree and had started work. I'm thankful that she was able to walk her daughter down the aisle. I'm thankful that she was able to hug her granddaughter. And I am thankful that my mother found another son in Jian. These onions. Our mother, Khuli Roberts, was a great mother.
Okay, thank you. Whew, that's tough to follow, so I'll try my best. All right. As we all know, my mother is a remarkable woman. And I say is because although she can't be with us here anymore physically, her spirit and her love will always be with us. She had a wonderful life, a tough life. God knows that He put her through a lot of trials and tribulations, but He was preparing her for something more. She was a fighter. She always fought for what she wanted, and she would never settle for anything less. She always knew what she wanted for herself, but more importantly, for my brother and I. There are countless qualities of my mother that I will always remember, but the two that will always stand out for me the most was her hard work ethic, as most of you would know, and her selflessness. She would always tell me that everything she ever did in her entire life was for my brother and I. She always put us first, no matter what. She worked in a difficult industry where she was always in the spotlight. But she always managed to keep her work life and her home life separate in order for her to ensure that she was able to raise her children in a loving and nurturing environment where we could grow up and become the strong and hard-working individuals we are today. One of the last conversations I had with my mother was at my daughter's 5th birthday a couple of weeks ago. She told me how proud she was of my brother and I, and how lucky she was to have raised 2 children and a grandchild. My entire life, I believed I was my mother's only best friend until my daughter came along. My daughter and my mother were as close as 2 people could ever be. My mother loved my daughter more than anything, and I honestly see so many of her characteristics in Isabella. I see her kind-heartedness, her humor, and her honest love for life. My mother taught me many important lessons throughout my